Awesome. Sorry, I sound like I have a frog in my throat, so I'm really sorry. But I'm so excited to share with you guys tonight. So, who has been on all of the calls so far? You've been on all of them, and you're getting so much. That's awesome. I'm seeing lots of hands raised. I love it. So, tonight, what we're talking about is habits, time management, and systems. Does that sound like anything anyone could use some training on? I see a few nods. Okay. So, a system, that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. I love systems, they really help. A system is a method to help you regularly accomplish a certain task. So, the reason our first trainings last week were on belief, passion, and skills, all of those before systems, is because without having those things in place, it doesn't matter how good of a system you have, right? So, if you don't believe in the company, if you're lacking passion in what you're doing, if you don't have the skill set to do something well, what does it matter if you have the best system in the world, right? So, you guys can have the greatest systems ever, but they will be meaningless if you don't have that belief, passion, and skills that we learned about last week. So I want you guys to keep this in mind. Write it in a sticky note. Put it on as a regular task on your calendar to fill your cups with belief. Okay, check your belief. Do you believe in your company? Do you believe in your team? Do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in what you do and what you share? So check your belief regularly. Sometimes we need to do a little self-check. We don't have a boss in our Pampered Chef businesses. We have our uplines to encourage us. But you are your boss, so you've got to check your belief. You need to regularly check your passion. Are you still in love with what you do with Pampered Chef? Do you love doing the parties? Do you love serving your hosts? Do you love sharing what we have with our guests? If you are lacking passion, maybe you need to change something up so that you're re-excited and you are passionate about what you're doing. You also need to regularly check that you are sharpening your skills. That means you're attending trainings. Anytime your uplines have calls, you should attend them. Sometimes it's just the kick in the butt or the encouragement that you need to get back on track with things and to remotivate and reignite yourself. So, congratulations to all of you for kicking yourselves in the butt and being on this call because you're going to feel inspired. Your cups are going to be filled back with that belief, passion, and you're gaining in the skill set. So now that we know, we've got to make sure we're checking those things. We're going to be diving into systems. So I want you to start thinking to yourself, and maybe you can write this down, you can comment in the chat. What systems do you and your team already have in place? So do you guys have a system for host coaching? Do you have a system for booking parties, for how to recruit? The thing is you guys don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if your upline has a system for a booking blitz or a recruiting blitz or opportunity events, join in with them. You don't have to reinvent everything every time. A system can be anything that helps you to regularly accomplish a task. So I used to use Google Tasks and have a lot of my team and personal business tasks imported to check those off on a daily basis. And that is how I would show up to work and I would do my work. Now I use Google Sheets and I'm a whiz on Google Sheets. I love it. And I have all of my weekly, monthly, and miscellaneous tasks set up to check off, prioritize, and color code for completion. Good night, baby. I love you. So we're about to do an activity together to help you guys identify, like, what do you already have systems for? What do you have a system for, but like maybe you need to revamp it? And what you might need to create a system for. You don't even have a system for promoting directors. Okay, or maybe you're not partnering with your upline on promoting directors. So I want you guys to keep in mind that anytime y'all begin a new system, you build a new system yourself, Depending on what kind of type of system it is, it could be very simple and fast. Like setting up a system for host coaching is super easy. That shouldn't take very long. Setting up a system for director bound, if you're not going to partner with your upline, which I really recommend you do partner with your upline, but that can take a lot of time. But the point of a system is that if it can save you time today, if it can save, spending time on it now can save you time for tomorrow and in the months and weeks and for the year, it is worthwhile to take that time to set up the system. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this activity together. And I'm going to hopefully be able to share my screen. Stacy, can you? Thank you. Okay. All right, so if you guys are in Google Sheets, you can do something like this. I'm just going to go through this with y'all, and I will share it in the chat, and I will also share it with your national leaders to share with you guys to just do this little activity. You can also do it with paper and pen to evaluate what systems you should probably be having. This isn't completely comprehensive, but it does include pretty much everything that you would want to be doing. The first 2/3 of this list is for everybody. And then the last part is for systems for if you're an advanced director or above. So the first thing you want to do here, let's say I am an advanced director, okay? My name's Becca, I'm an advanced director, and I'm going to go through and think about what I already have systems for, what needs a revision, or what I do not have a system for. So host coaching. Okay, I know I have a system for that. I know I send my host messages first thing in the morning before I get out of bed. So, and it's working great for me. I'm happy with it. The hosts are being communicated with. So awesome. I've got a good host coaching system. Booking from parties. Oh my gosh, I hate booking from parties. Like it just drives me crazy. I'm not consistent with it. I kind of know what I need to do. I kind of have the messages I need to send, but I know I need to work on this. So you would color code it yellow, for example. I'm just thinking out loud, maybe a thought process of what an advanced director would be thinking. Recruiting from parties. I have no system from that. I fly by the seat of my pants, and maybe sometimes I do it, but most of the time I don't. So that's something I know I need to work on better. Coaching new team members. I actually have a good system for this. I have a script that I use, and I send a message to new team members when they join. So I'm good with that. Supporting my personal team, recognition, communication, incentives. That is definitely a fly by the seat of my pants type of thing as well. And I know I need to work on that. Promoting directors. So something like this could be really easy. You don't necessarily have to have your own system for it. A lot of you guys have uplines who do some type of director bound, and it's really smart to just do it with them so you don't have to create a system. So let's say you're doing your director bound with your upline and you're doing it regularly and consistently. So you're good to go. I'm just going to kind of go through that as examples. And then the next thing that you guys would do after you color code through this whole list is obviously the red is top priority. Okay, so if you had recruiting from parties is number 1, now we're going to prioritize based off of the need and the color level, what we need to work on. You don't necessarily need to work on the green unless you want to improve on it. Okay, so recruiting from parties. Now I need to think about when I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on that this week, January, I don't know, 5th. Okay. Booking from parties. I think I'll be able to have my system for recruiting from parties done by this week. So I will plan to work on booking from parties starting January 20th. Supporting my personal team. Okay, I will plan to work on this a couple of weeks after the booking from parties to give myself time to make sure that I really have that down. So I'm going to start working on that February 10th. Okay, So I'm going to stop sharing. So does that kind of give you guys an idea of how you can look through the different systems and evaluate what needs to be worked on, and then prioritize the list from top to bottom? And then you shouldn't work on everything at once, because no one can do that. You need to focus on one thing at a time and schedule out when you will work on things, right? So give yourself permission to not feel overwhelmed that you have to like change your whole life and change your whole business and change every little thing you do at one time, because guess what? You're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to give up, and you're going to move on with your life, and you're not going to do anything, right? So take the time, go through the list, color code, put your priority list, and schedule when you will work on each item. If you already have a good system, but you think it could be better, then schedule that in for a revision period that you can revamp your host coaching system if you want to, and that sort of thing. So I'll share that Google Sheet with you guys. And oh, I can't remember off the top of my head who's after me. I don't know where this went.
It's me.
It's you. That's right. I'm sorry. I was pulling up my document. Okay. So Stacy is going to take this from systems and now talk about habits and what that has to do with systems.
All right. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm managing the Zoom and the mutes and all of that. So I just need to make sure that the spotlight is changing. I don't know that it is. It's okay.
You're spotlighted for me, Stacey.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, good. It was still spotlighting Becca. Okay, here we go. So thanks, Becca. And just Becca's like about to give birth any day. So I'm so proud of her for doing this. She looked nice and comfy there with her pillows supporting her. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Stacey Itzel. I'm a National Executive Director just outside of Annapolis, Maryland. And I am so excited to talk to you guys tonight about habits. But let's recap first what Becca just said to you. She went over what a system is. And just in case you missed that, a system is an organized set of procedures that work together to accomplish an overall goal. So what Becca said is a system is a method to help you regularly accomplish a task. Organized procedures, working towards a goal, steps to accomplish a task. So if that's what a system is, then what is a habit? Well, a habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So how do these two go together? Simply, if a system is the steps that we follow, let's say in our business, then a habit is whether we follow the system or not. And when you actually have a habit for your system, you follow the steps in the system without even thinking about it. And more importantly, without skipping any of the steps. So for a system to actually work, the entire system needs to become a habit for you. So let's dig into habits a little bit more. Did you know that 40% of our actions every single day aren't actually decisions that we are making in that moment? Like, we're not stopping and thinking about them. Rather, they are actions that we actually take out of habit. For example, I want you to think about the very first thing that you do every morning when you first wake up. Do you roll over and kiss the person in bed next to you? Is that the first thing that you do? Or do you roll the other way and pick up your phone and start scrolling through Facebook or your messages? When you roll one direction or the other, do you stop and think, I'm going to roll this way or that way? Probably not. You just do it because that's a habit. Then when you get out of bed, what do you do first? Do you go to the bathroom first? Do you brush your teeth first? My husband would kill me if I told you this, but every morning he gets up. I watch him with one eye open. He stretches. He looks out the window I don't know what he's looking at, the woods, the yard, the pool, the dog, I don't know. But he looks out the window every single morning and then he walks into the bathroom every single morning. I don't think he thinks I'm going to get up and look out the window. He just does it out of habit. If you brush your teeth first, do you floss before or after your brush? Do you walk around while you brush your teeth or do you stand still at the sink? All of those little things that you do or don't do are habits. Habits are they're at the root of how we behave each and every day. And once they are lodged into our brain, they influence every action we take without us even realizing it. Now, habits can be formed intentionally or they will form on their own. Make no mistake about that. And within both our personal business and within our team's business, if we don't create and form the habits that we want to personally have and we want them to have around the systems that we know work, bad habits will form on their own and at the risk of those bad habits not bringing success for both you and your team. Good habits allow you to reach your goals. So, for example, if you want to earn excellence in recruiting, you start with the habit of offering the business to every guest in your party. You start with the habit of asking your host 5 times to join your team. And here's the other great thing about habits. They step in when you have a lack of motivation. Because let's face it, we all have days when we just don't feel like working, right? Maybe some of you are struggling right now to get that fire burning again. But when things are habits, they become so second nature to us, we do them without thinking, regardless of how we are feeling. So let's talk about the way habits are formed. And this is been backed by so many researchers. You can Google about it. You can, marketing companies have learned this trick to create habits for us as consumers. So it doesn't matter whether you're trying to start a habit in life, around weight loss, around anything, or in your business, there's something called the habit loop. It starts with a cue, something that triggers the behavior. Something that triggers the good habit or something that triggers the bad habit. There's always a cue or trigger. And then there's the action, which is the habit. And then there's reward. Now, whether you have a good habit or a bad habit, you are rewarded in some kind of way. If you have a bad habit of eating chocolate before bed, there's a reward in that for you. If you have the good habit of brushing your teeth every day, there's a reward in that. So good habits and bad habits both have rewards. Let's talk a little bit more about toothbrushing because I loved when I learned this. Did you know that in the 1920s, the majority of the world was not brushing their teeth? It wasn't a thing. And the habit of brushing our teeth wasn't actually created by dentists because of good oral hygiene. There was actually a pandemic at that time in our military. So many of our military people couldn't serve because they had tooth decay. But the habit of toothbrushing was created by toothpaste company, Pepsodent, as a matter of fact. And the way they created that habit was simply by getting people to notice the film on their teeth that they had each morning. And what they did was encourage people to run their tongue along their teeth. That was the cue. And then they had this craving that they created to have a clean mouth through marketing. And they claimed that it could only be done with toothpaste. You could only get rid of that film with toothpaste. Now, that wasn't true because what you may not know, you can actually get rid of that film in the morning simply by swishing around with water or eating an apple. It would do the same thing. However, The action of brushing their teeth was the habit that was created by the toothpaste company, and the reward was not just a clean mouth, but they marketed it as a way to have a beautiful smile. And now, fast forward today, some people are brushing their teeth twice a day. Some people are doing it 3 times a day. I got to tell you, I get excited if I get my teenage boys to brush their teeth every morning. That's a win for me. So, in order for someone to be successful in creating a habit, 3 things are critical. And you can apply this to your business. And we're going to talk through how you do that in a minute. There must be a clearly defined cue, a clearly defined trigger. When this happens, I do this. When I run my tongue across my teeth and I fill that film, I brush my teeth. Step 2, there must be a reward and it must be identified. Habits become more firmly cemented with the person when there is a reward. And a reward can be anything from a feeling the person gets, something they get to do, or something tangible that they get to have. So remember that. And step 3, in order for good habits to really take root, there must also be a plan for the pain. And by pain, I mean that thing that could derail us. The pain is also a cue, actually, that often triggers a bad habit. So, for example, if you're trying to lose weight, you probably have a system for that. You track your weight, you follow an exercise routine, you're tracking what you're eating. So, when you have a craving late at night, which is now your cue, but that's also the pain that could derail you. You're watching a movie. What is your plan to keep yourself on track with your good habits? Simply denying that craving might work a couple of times, but after 3 or 4 nights in a row of saying no to that chocolate, that craving is going to take over if you don't have a plan. So instead, it could simply be when I'm watching a movie and I get that craving to eat, I'm going to get up and make a bowl of popcorn instead. Put something healthy in front of me. It's low calorie and it's healthy and it gives that reward of salt and the crunch and the feeling of eating. So, as we're building systems for our business, it's so important to think about how we can not only create cues and rewards with those systems to help create the habits for ourselves and for our teams, but we also need to have the plan for the pain there. When there are cues and rewards built in, we will be more likely to stick to the system, and so will they. And when there's a plan for the pain, they won't fall off the system wagon. Okay, so let's take it one system. Like take a look at one system, booking parties from our parties. Although we all have variations within our systems, I'm sure I can safely say that we all reach out to our guests in our parties in some way to ask them to host a party, right? Let me see some hands if you do that. Okay, good. What are the cues you have to trigger the ask? And what is the reward? I want to argue that the reward for the ask isn't the booking itself. Because if it was, we wouldn't keep asking because we hear a whole lot of no's. So I think it's something else, and let's talk about that in a second. I have a system built for my team on how to ask every guest that orders from a party. The cue or trigger that starts this system is when that email confirmation of the order comes through. The first step we have is to send a thank you text. The email comes, the thank you text goes out. That's the actual habit I want them to have, to start with a thank you text. Now, the reward that they get, because most people don't respond to that thank you text, is that they get to check it off on their tracker that they sent that text. Remember, I said a reward can be a feeling or something they get to do. So that feeling of crossing off the tracker of I did it is the reward. Crossing something off your list or checking a box that you've completed a task actually motivates you. And it could be a sense of pride in a job well done. Other times it might be the relief of finally completing that task, which is long past due. The bottom line is that completing items off of a list feels good, which is a reward. Because there is a reward early in this system, consultants are more likely to follow through. And then there's also that craving of wanting the booking. So the second step in the system is to send the booking ask text the day after the party ends. And again, the reward is checking it off the tracker. So what are the pain points in this habit loop? 1, the guest doesn't respond to my ask. 2, the guest responds with an objection. Or 3, the guest says no. Because there's a plan for these pain points, instead of being something that derails my system, they are instead cues to trigger the next habit in the system. So when a guest doesn't respond, the habit I have or the step in the system is to send a follow-up text, which is easy to do because I already have the words prepared in a Google form that I can copy and text, or I can send my text replacement out. And then the reward is I get to mark it off on my tracker. If the guest responds with an objection, I'm prepared with the words to use for the objection. And then the reward again is marking it off on the tracker. When a guest says no, I have the words in place to respond for that no, which is simply, okay, thanks for letting me know. If anything changes in the future, I hope you'll think of me. They are crossed off the list to reach out to, not to reach out to again, and the box is checked on, guess what? My list of 100 no's that I'm constantly trying to get every month, which automatically has rewards built into it. So do you see how the system is filled with habits and it has its cues and triggers? Think of one of your good habits that you have in your business already. Can you identify the cue and the reward for it? When you can also help your team to build that same good habit. What's one of the habits you'd like to create for your business? What will be the cue or trigger for you to do that? And what will be the reward when you do it? Have you ever heard if you want something done, give it to a busy person? Truthfully, that's not that the person is busy and that's why they get it done. It's because they have good habits. Habits help us eliminate wasted time. I want you to know that there was a period of time in my business that all of my kids that I had at home at that point were in school, and I had a solid 6 or more hours a day to work on my business. And I had the bad habit of working on all the wrong things. Most of us would rather not do anything difficult or challenging. We avoid pain and discomfort by nature and spend our time on the fun stuff. Sometimes it means letting go of things and people that aren't part of a system, that part of your system to get those good habits in place. When you have strong systems in place and build good habits around them, you will be more intentional with the time that you have and be much more efficient. And this reduces how much time you waste. And it wasn't until I adopted my youngest daughter in the span of 2 days, I went from having more than 6 hours a day to work on my business to less than 3 hours a day. And that forced me to take a good look at the systems and habits and plans that I had in place and manage my time better. So now I'm going to turn it over to National Executive Director Love Carpenter, who's going to talk to you more about the #1 most requested training by directors, time management.
All right. Thank you, Stacy. Here we go. So are you guys excited that you now have a perspective of habits and systems, that a lot of these things you already have built into your business, but being able to identify the places that you still need to work on building those systems and habits? So let's talk a little bit about how that works into time management, because they do kind of all work together. So when it comes to time management, do you ever ask yourself why some people get so much more done in the span of 24 hours than others do sometimes? We all have 24 hours. 1,440 minutes in our day. So why is it that some accomplish so much more than others do? First, let's clarify one thing. Time management is a little bit of a myth. We cannot manage time. We can only manage ourselves. So when you think about time management, I want you to think about it more about personal management. Whatever time you have, you need the discipline to manage yourself, the discipline to do the things that you know you need to do. The next step when it comes to time management is clarity. Something happens when you have absolute clarity on what you want in life. When you are crystal clear on what it is that you want and where you're going, figuring out what you need to do is the easy part. That clarity can drive our days and our weeks, where you can make sure you're spending time on the right things. Stacy just mentioned that just because you have all day doesn't mean you need to work all day. There are many executive and national executive directors that have promoted to these highest titles in our company while working a full-time job. And some of them are on our call tonight. Let's be real. This job can work around any of our schedules. It can work around a full-time job. It can work around being a stay-at-home parent with small children. It can work around having a baby. Ask Becca. It can work around family members going through an illness and being there for them. It can work around tragedies that we have in our lives and more. Don't use your life as an excuse not to do your business. Use it as the reason to do your business. When we have major things going on in our life, what a blessing it is to have a business like this that we can do from anywhere on our own terms and on our own time frame. We just have to be sure to put the time in and do the right things. Also, our business goes through seasons. And depending on which season you're in, you may need to restructure your time and how you're spending your time. If you're having a baby or you have a tiny baby at home, or your work schedule and when you work and where you work will look differently than if you have school-age children, or if you work a full-time job, or if you're an empty nester. And it will even look differently when you're in the middle of a pandemic and your kids are going to school virtually from home. Who knew, right? So if you have to get up a few hours early to get your work done, or stay up a few hours late to work at night if you like to work at night, or take your lunch to work and eat in your car for your lunch hour so you have no interruptions and you can work for a focused hour on your business. Or work out of the sandbox like I used to do when I had a little one, or work out at the pool in the summertime. Yes, life is tough, isn't it? Just plan accordingly and know the task that you can squeeze in and the time you have and power through it. Plan your day the night before. There are a lot of little things in our business that we can do by fitting them in here and there. Make a list of those things. So if you don't have time to sit in an office during the day and work your business, make a list of all those little things. For example, changing the banner in your parties, changing the name of your parties, sending out your host coaching message, actually jumping in and engaging in the party, setting up a few parties for next week, sending out a few booking messages. None of these things take much time. As long as you have the planning and have the tool set up on the device that you are going to have with you, you can get these things done. Like, look at sending a few booking messages. If you have a list and you know who you need to contact that day and what you're going to say, and you can get all this together the night before. So if you're busy and you need to do this on your lunch hour, or if you just need to fit it into pockets of time when you're in the car rider line, you can be prepared to be able to accomplish a lot in a little bit of time. Maybe your booking assignment that day is to send out booking messages to follow up from last week's parties, people you haven't reached yet. Go ahead and have your message ready, your list ready, and a plan to act on. You'll be much more effective and accomplish much more in a shorter amount of time. So each night I focus on what I'm going to be doing the next day. If you have these little lists that you can do from your phone, your iPad, your tablet, when you have just 10 or 15 minutes here or there, you can power through a lot of things in little pockets of time if that's how you need to structure your work. Other things may take more focused time, and carve those things out in your week. I have these things on my Google Calendar, all these little things on my Google Calendar, so I can kind of do them from wherever they are, wherever I'm at. And then it just takes a few minutes to get them done. I put everything on my Google Calendar, and I mean everything. It runs my life. But let's be clear, I run my Google Calendar. I use something called time blocking, and you can YouTube this and learn more about how to do it if you want to dig into this more. But basically, it's carving out time on your calendar for a certain activity to spend a focused amount of time on an important business activity. If you need bookings, then this is the first place to start with time blocking. Carve out some time on your calendar to make 30 reach outs a day, no matter what, until your calendar is until your calendar is booked or until the problem's fixed. So let's say you have a big business goal with personal recruiting and developing leaders right now. Then if that's my goal that I'm working on, I need to make sure that I have time blocks in my calendar each week dedicated to personal recruiting and developing leaders. I use Google Calendar and put those time blocks on my calendar. And what do I do during those time blocks? Well, what I don't do is I don't make coffee, I don't do laundry, I don't clean my desk, I don't reply to messages, I don't work on flyers, and I don't work on a new template. I need to be laser focused in that time block to work on personal recruiting reach outs and follow up if that's what it's dedicated to. Or during my director development time block, I need to not be returning emails. I need to do the things specific to that task of director development every single week. One week, maybe it's making reach outs for my personal team members to see who wants more. Another week, maybe it's setting up a get the more you're looking for meeting and inviting to that. Another week, maybe it's setting up dates for a director bound class or planning the class. Maybe it's running the director bound class or working on coaching some of my consultants in director bound. Maybe it's working my Fab 5 chat for those in director bound that I'm working closely with, dedicated time that I'm going to work that chat and work with them. Maybe it's touching base with every direct or indirect recruit on your personal team to see if they want to go for the $3,000 cash bonus that's on the table for them if they're still in their 90 days. These are all specific tasks that are geared towards director development. So those are the things I want to make sure I'm doing during that time block. So you get the idea here. You can do this for any topic that you set up in time blocks that are working towards your goals. So anything that you need to accomplish in your business, make an appointment with yourself on your calendar to get that done. And again, this goes back to having that clarity and being crystal clear on what you want. I know that I need strong personal recruiting to reach my goals and strong director development. So you better believe that I have time blocks for these specific things carved out on my calendar, and it's actually an appointment on my Google Calendar that I keep with myself. There's a lot of people that are busy being busy, but we want to make sure that we are busy doing the right things that are going to get us to where we want to go. So let me give you an example. Let's say that your ultimate goal this month is to maybe recruit 5 people. We got a great recruiting special going on, or maybe your goal is to recruit 10 people, or maybe it's 20 people. Any month that there is a big special that the company is running that you want to make sure you take advantage of, you want to make sure that you make that a priority and fit that into your calendar and a priority in the task that you're doing. So this month, they happen to be running a $20.21 new consulting promotion, right? So today is January the 5th. You have exactly 26 days after today to take advantage of the $20.21 recruiting special. So the best use of your time is not going to be spent on making a new theme party for January or spending time getting your junk email all called up for the new year. Being laser focused and having that clarity of what you want and that recruiting goal that you're going for makes it very easy to see that the best use of your business time is putting time over the next 26 days into making a high priority on doing recruiting reach outs, asking your host, sending the rock star messages in your parties. If you don't have enough parties on your schedule, then one of the big priorities is putting more bookings on your calendar if you're not totally booked up for January, so that you're in front of enough people to share that kit. Think about this. February 1st, we are no longer going to have the special, okay? You will be recruiting people with a $99 kit and up. So take advantage of these next 26 days to maximize the time that you have to share the kit. That is an example of focusing on the right things in your business. All of the other things can wait. You can still do those things next month, but make sure you're focusing on the big priorities when there is a time sensitive special like that, because the special will come and go. but the other things will still be there to do. You can clean up your junk email in your email for the new year after the special is come and gone. So the bottom line is we want to make sure our time is spent doing income producing activities and doing the right things to move us towards our goal. This is a quote that I want to share that I have in my quote board on my wall. When everything is important, nothing is important. When everything is important, nothing is important. And here's another great quote that I have on my quote board. How many of us have team members that say, well, this just isn't working for me? And I'm sure we are all guilty of whining a time or two that something wasn't working for us, right? But I always remind myself of this quote on my quote board. Nothing works unless you do. We have to put the work in, but we need to make sure we're doing the right things. So I have a Sunday night routine that I do. And every Sunday night, I do what's called a brain dump. And I just write down all the things that I know are floating around in my head that I need to accomplish, whether it's this coming week or just something I have in my mind, so I can get all that out of my head and free my head up to be able to work on the big things that I need to work on. Then I take that brain dump, and if it's things that need to be put on my Google Calendar, I put it on the calendar. If it just needs to be put on a list somewhere, but I just get that stuff out of my head so I can focus on the things I need to do. Also, if you haven't read the book Procrastinate on Purpose, Roy Vaden, he talks about taking those things that, like your brain dump list, and procrastinating on them on purpose. He walks you through a system of how to eliminate, automate, delegate, or procrastinate on purpose on it. And that helps you kind of prioritize, and the things you need to do don't all have to be done today, but figuring out what does need to be done today. So every Sunday night, I plan out my coming week, and I'll look at the things on my calendar for that week. I do the brain dump, and I figure out what I need to be doing. So I'll leave you with this habit that I created for myself, so that I can get the right things done each week and each day to move me closer to my goal. I am not a very organized person naturally, so I have to force myself to build systems and habits to be sure I get things done. Something that has helped me tremendously to stay focused and get things done is a focus planner that I use by Michael Hyatt. You don't have to have this planner to use the system. Once you know what your goals are, each week on Sunday when I sit down to plan out my week, I review my goals and I pick my weekly big three. These are 3 things that I want to focus on this week and work to accomplish more than anything else, but here's the key, that move me towards my bigger goal. Then I pick my daily big 3 that I want to get done for Monday that will help me accomplish those weekly big 3 that move me closer to my ultimate goal. So if my big goal is personal recruiting and developing leaders, this ensures that I am focused on doing things every single day that move me towards that goal and not letting a week go by without making progress towards that goal. That is what clarity of having a goal can do for you. So I challenge you to make your daily big 3 for tomorrow. What are 3 things that you want to get done, no matter what, Wednesday of this week, to move you closer to your goal? This can be as simple as making a phone call that needs to be made, but not the doctor office or some follow-up. This is moving you closer towards your business goal. The 3 things that will move you closer to your business goal. Put those 3 things on a sticky note. Put them in your calendar, on your phone, or somewhere where you will see it all day tomorrow. And then go do those 3 things. And then tomorrow night, write down your 3 things on a sticky note that you need to get done the next day to move you closer to your goal. And just to be clear, this isn't your daily list of all the things that need to be done, going to the grocery store and all the things. It's the 3 things that will move you closer to your goal. And sometimes they're small things, but making sure you're making movement on that every single day. And talking about systems, just to leave you with a simple system, something that I adopted. I used to have a lot of trouble of finding my notes. I would take notes. I don't do real good typing things on the computer and stuff. So I would write things in this notebook or that notebook, and I could never find them. So something my assistant shared with me, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you have trouble keeping up with things, my assistant now has me using a Rocket notebook, and it's a notebook to take notes in, but one's got like 42 pages in it, but you can take a picture of it and digitally upload it. So it saves that forever, and you can save it in the files based on what your notes are on. So all my notes that I now take are either in my focus planner or in my Rocketbook if I'm taking a lot of notes and needing a lot of paper to write it. So that's an example of a system that helped me with a problem that I was having, and now it's a habit that's where I write it. Some books that have personal development will help you so much with all aspects of your business, but it's greatly helped me get more organized and help me with time management a lot. I read a lot, but I don't personally have time to sit and read books a lot. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really enjoy sitting and reading, but I use the full out of Audible. So if you haven't checked out Audible, it's kind of like opening up your brain and pouring the information in. So that's another habit that I've created that I use a lot in my life. And some books that I've used that have really helped me with time management is Michael Hyatt's Your Best Year Ever. And Brian Tracy's No Excuses. And then recently a new book I've adopted is The 12-Week Year, and Procrastinating on Purpose by Roy Baton. So those are some great places to start if you need some help with time management. So now I'm excited for you to hear from National Executive Director Brittany Sunday to wrap us up tonight.
Thank you so much, Love. Okay, so tonight I'm just going to be sharing my story about my journey with Pampered Chef. So I joined May of 2019, and I had hosted several times before May in my home with Ellington and online, and she had offered the business to me a ton of times, but I had kindly declined every single time, or I would blame it on my husband. But this time was different. At my show, I actually had 3 people that were interested in signing up that night. So after my show, I was super excited and I talked it over with my husband, and I really wanted this to work. Keep in mind though, I had done several different direct sales companies before and I was never successful. So, he gave me, like this, so if you really think you can do this and you're not going to, give up, because I was good at giving up about 2 to 3 months going into it. And so I told him, no, I'm going to go for it, because I had already cooked and baked a lot. I had an in-home bakery business, and I cooked 20 families twice a week. They would come to my home and pick up hot and fresh meals. So, and our goal for us, I was actually looking for a job outside of the home, and we knew that I had to be making anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 each month. And so that was a goal. I said, I can make this work. I want to make it work. So, and plus Pampered Chef, that gave me the flexibility of being at home and still being a stay-at-home mom, and I could still be involved with my girls at their school. So fast forward, I went ahead and I signed up. So 48 hours later, Ellington called me and she coached me on how to book parties. And she said 4 parties every single week, no matter what. Well, I'm super competitive. So I booked 6 parties, and I was so excited because I submitted almost $1,600 that week, and my commission was $387. And I had literally thought I hit the lottery, because that was huge for my family. And I had already had 3 recruits on my team, because remember, I just told you about the 3 recruits that I had that were interested. So they all 3 signed up, but I continued to push hard for my June calendar with the minimum of 6 parties per month. She reached out to me again later that week and told me about the Rockstars on the Rise program that she offered and to promote to director. And I'll be honest, the only thing I heard on the call that I remember is a $500 bonus. And I wanted that so badly for my family. So I continued to reach out for bookings, and I got my 5 recruits, and we promoted to a director team in June. I remember going to her home at the end of the month in June, because we were celebrating her promotion to a senior executive director team. And Kathy Cocazella was there from home office. I was still very new. I didn't know anyone except for Ellington. But everyone was so sweet, and they kept encouraging everyone and making a really big deal to sign up for National Conference 2019. And that was the last day that you could register. So I went home talking to my husband. I was so excited, and I wanted to go. I used my PC dollars to sign up, and my husband made a plan to take off work and arrange for our girls to stay with their grandparents. And he drove me all the way up to Chicago for National Conference. I still didn't know anyone, but I will never forget that moment, because my husband being there for my business and backed me up 1,000%. And it felt so good. I went to National Conference in July of 2019, and that was a life-changing moment for my career. Hearing from incredible leaders, seeing people walk the stage. I even got to walk the stage, and it was such an amazing experience. I don't even know how to describe it. After leaving a national conference, I was on fire, and I wanted my team to have that same fire that I did. So I started reaching out to everyone I knew and offering the business to them. I started putting plans in place and wanted to advance my team to the next level. I got out of my comfort zone and I didn't care if I was told no, because that is part of the business, right? So as we entered September of 2019, I was told that this was the biggest selling season of the year. And boy, was everyone right. We hit our highest numbers that month, and my team went to a team of 20. And I was so excited. We promoted to a fast track advanced director team on October 1st. And I didn't want to stop there with my team. With October being the Pampered Chef anniversary month, I wanted to take it to the next step, because remember, I'm competitive, and it was a goal of mine to promote to a senior director team within my 6 months of being with Pampered Chef, which was November 15th, 2 days before my birthday. So I was bound and determined to make it happen. So I rallied my team and pushed them to recruit and book parties really hard that month. And we worked on developing leaders. We promoted 3 leaders that month, plus recruited 89 new team members. Insane, right? My team was exploding with new consultants, and it was a lot of fun to have with growing team. My paycheck that month was the biggest yet. I had ever been paid that much money in my entire life in 1 month, and I was so excited to help contribute to my family financially. We also successfully promoted to a senior director team. Going into November and December was a little rough. We were working to promote to hit month 1 and month 2 of executive director. Unfortunately, we fell a little short of a director, one director promotion giving us structure to hit. And I was down, but I kept my head up and I went to Ellington for advice. She has always been there to help me and my team because we were so new. So she has helped a lot, and I'm forever grateful for that. So rolling into January of 2020 was a brand new year, and we were excited and pumped, and our team went and we hit month 1. I promoted 2 leaders that month, and with the promotions, we hit month 1. And then going into month 2, it was exciting, but it was also scary. I remember thinking to myself, what if we don't hit month 2? I hated that feeling, but I remember I was not going to go backwards. So I encouraged my team, and with the help of home office and Ellington, they went live on our page, gave us incredible ideas, and we hit month 2. It was such an incredible feeling for my team to hit executive director team in 9 months. So fast forward to March of 2020, COVID hit. I honestly thought my business and my team were done. So many unknowns during that time. Instead, I thought we were at the end of our journey. But then April of 2020, we hit month 1 of a senior executive director team. I remember being so shocked and so proud of my team. Going into May of 2020, I told Ellington, we're going for month 1. She helped me put a plan in place, and we worked hard. In May, June, and July, we hit our numbers. We had crazy growth and so much momentum, and we officially promoted to a national executive director team in 15 months, the fastest in Pampered Chef history at that time, until Michaela Wyatt came in a month later and took it from us. But that's okay, because she's on our team and I love her so much. But I share that, and I just want to let you guys know. So we ended 2020 with so much growth, and I wanted to share some numbers with you guys from 2019 to 2020 from our team. And so in 2019, we had 138 team members that were signed. In 2020, we ended with 1,195 new recruits signed. 2019, we submitted 676 parties as an org. In 2020, we submitted 11,090 parties as an organization. Our director promotions in 2019, we had 8 director promotions.
Eat and drink and enjoy the view.
4 director promotions, and our organizational sales for 2019 $278,153.03. In 2020, we ended the year with 5.9 million in organizational sales. So I look forward to 2021 with my team, and I share that with you, not to, brag or anything, but I share this with you because you can do this, but first you have to believe in yourself in order to do that. Now, how did we get there? How did we promote? We promoted by the systems that were created for us, and we followed that. For example, like the 4+ parties every single week, no matter what, offering the business to every single person, especially our host, right? Reaching out to your daily contacts, identifying those rock star guests, just your daily things that, it's nothing magical, you guys. We just did the basic systems that Pampered Chef and your upline have put in place for you. We created the habit from the systems, right? Because we were doing that every single day, whether it was bookings, host coaching, recruiting, onboarding new consultants, training, or director bound programs. Remember that we only have 24 hours in a day. And trust me, some days I wish that we had more because I get fired up with ideas, I get excited, and I don't want to go to bed. So manage your time with what works best for you. In the beginning, I thought I had to reply back to every single comment or message right away, especially in my parties, because I wanted to show great customer service. Well, you can still show great customer service, but you don't have to reply back right away. That question or that comment's still going to be there later that evening. And I learned quickly how exhausted I was, staying up until 2 a.m. and then getting back up at 6 a.m. and it wore on me. So I encourage you to create a daily list, just like Love said. I love what she said. Write down 3 things that will get you closer to your goal and tackle those. It doesn't have to be, 10 things that you have to complete. Just write down your top 3 things. And I love that. So I'll end with this. And I encourage you guys to go back and I look at your systems that are in place. Are you doing all the steps? That is something that isn't optional. In order to have a successful business, you must do all the steps. It's kind of similar to host coaching. As we coach them, we want them to be involved, invite their friends, tag friends, comment, share things that we send to them daily, right? And if they don't do those things, we know it's not going to be a successful party. So that is the same way with our business. If we don't do all the steps, you won't get to where you want to be with your personal business or your team with that. So that's all I have tonight. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Stacy.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Brittany. You are just absolutely amazing and so inspiring. And I hope you all heard 4 parties a week. Like, did you hear that? So key. So we have a few minutes left and we want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions around systems, around habits, around time management, around promoting to national executive director in 11 months. Like, who has a question for someone tonight? And I might not be able to see you, so just unmute yourself and start talking.
I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Suzanne. So I've been hearing a lot to offer the business to every single guest. What are some ways that you offer the business to every single guest?
I can jump in. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. You always want to be looking for your rock star guests in every party. I think that's an easy person to reach out to. Definitely any guest that orders. Those, when I think of cooking shows, I think this is where we have to think a little bit differently about our parties. It's not every person that's invited, right? If you think about, and my peers might disagree with me, but when I think about how cooking shows went, my host might have invited 40 people, but 12 show up. I wasn't reaching out to the other 30 or 28 people and saying, hey, do you want to try out being a Pampered Chef consultant? I was working with the people that were at the party, talking to them, whether they ordered or not. So when I think of my virtual parties, my online parties, I kind of follow that same idea, the people that join the party, that show up, but more importantly, the ones that participate and the ones that are definitely placed in order. And I have it built right into my my thank you text that goes out. It's thank you for your order, your support, all the things. And right now it includes, I don't know if you saw this or not, but you could try Pampered Chef for 2021 this month. Would you be interested in learning more? So it's just that simple ask. I don't know if some of the other girls want to say something differently.
So I missed the first part. Was that for a guest or a recruit that she was asking?
The question was, I hear a lot that, ask every single guest, offer the business to every single guest. And what are some ways that you go about doing that? Because I get guests in my party that you don't buy, so I don't. And then my message button on my my business page doesn't work anymore. It's just gone away and I don't know when it's coming back. And so I'll try to like message them from my personal page, and either they'll never see it or like they don't respond. So I'm just like, I understand how to text people and to ask them that way, but I don't, and I have every day in my template, like a way to, you know, showcase the business or ask a question, you know, about the business. But I just don't know other ways of going about it.
Yeah.
So one other, oh, sorry, Brittany. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I do a lot of posts that are interactive that I have them message me, because that message button is gone. So I do a lot of games, and like my welcome post, I have them like just comment, you know, I tag every single person. Then I tell them, comment below with what your favorite color is or what your favorite food is, something mindless that they don't have to think about. So, and I'm telling them to comment, but to get extra tickets, you have to message me. So a lot of my things, I'm telling them to message me. That way it opens the communication there first, where they're messaging me to get those points. And then you're continuing to build that relationship throughout the party. Now, offering the business opportunity, I do a lot of posts, you know, every single day, a booking or a recruiting one, and that's important. So instead of telling people to comment every single time, have them message you and make it, you know, like 50 points, 100 points, make it sound like really big, even though like me personally, I don't count tickets, but it gets them to message me. And then I can, like I said, build that relationship with them.
Awesome. Thank you.
One other idea around that, and this, I get a lot of recruit leads this way, is to do a Google survey in the party and have a place on there where they can mark off that they're interested in the business. It's funny, I don't think that people necessarily really think we're going to go look at that, because people will be brave and check that box off where they might not send the message, or maybe it just catches them at the right time. But if you make their phone number and email required fields, then you have a way to reach out to those guests who are interested in the party but don't ever place the order as well. And you can always tag people in the comments and tell them that you sent them a message. It's definitely easier Brittany's way if they message you. But try all of the things, you know, try tagging them and telling them to look in their message requests. And let's all pray that that message guest option comes back.
Yeah. Awesome.
So any other questions around systems, habits, time management, those kinds of things?
This is Leah Limro. My video is not working for some reason tonight, but my biggest task on figuring out what works, what doesn't work, is around director bound programs and working the one-on-ones with team members that want to promote. I'm having a lot of team members that say they want to promote, but then don't work towards it, obviously, which I'm sure everyone deals with. But I'm trying to find out what you nationals feel is the best director bound program or system that works for you guys.
So there is a director bound program in Dash, and I don't know if this has been let out of the bag yet or not, but that's being refreshed and updated just a little bit, tweaked, and will be, I think, launched in the next couple of weeks. And I know Love was a part of the program with me and some other top field leaders, and they kind of took some of the best practices from all of our director bounds and put that together. So that's where I would suggest you start. And I think the more times you run a director bound program, your own, you start to find your groove and what works for you and your team and your organization. But if you run with the one that's in Dash, I don't think you're gonna miss anything. There won't be any gaps. I believe it's all covered in there. What do you think, Love and Brittany and Becca? Good.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, we are a little over 9:30. So thanks so much for showing up tonight. You guys, I want you to start thinking about football. Really think about football and how hard those players train and show up to their practices. and to get ready for the big game, because tomorrow night's the kickoff for the big game. It's the Super Bowl. It's the final training in our Reignite Your Fire series. So tomorrow night, show up for Reignite Your Will. Ready? Okay, see y'all tomorrow.